When I was growing up in Manchester, I had a fairly standard Jewish education that included Sunday morning Jewish school, if you like, Kol Cheder, and then preparation for my bat mitzvah, the female equivalent of the bar mitzvah. I remember learning a lot about European Jewish history, the Holocaust, of course, and other aspects of Jewish history in Europe. I don't remember ever being told or learning anything about Jews in the Arab world, Jews who spoke Arabic, who lived among Arab cultures, and had done so for millennia. In the course of my personal reading, obviously I came across that history and I found it fascinating. I've always been interested in the Middle East and wanted to try to understand it a bit better. During the COVID-19 lockdowns, I started learning Arabic and fairly quickly started wondering to myself, what journalistic project could I undertake that would enable me to use the Arabic that I was learning? And I think some of those things came together in a decision or an aspiration to do some reporting in the Middle East and North Africa about the Jews who remained there. Another motivation, I should say, was that when I looked at the existing literature on this subject, I found many, many fantastic academic books and also many personal memoirs. But I didn't find anything that I would call that took a more journalistic approach, based on reporting, based on traveling to the countries concerned, interviewing people, observations, analysis. Particularly, there was nothing that took a broad regional sweep. So that's how I came up with the probably over-ambitious idea of traveling to as many of these countries, 10 in all, really, that follow the similar narrative arc. Trying to track down the last Jews who live there, easier in some countries than others, and then also traveling to some of the main diasporas where Jews from those parts of the world moved to and now live in often thriving communities. I want to create, if I can, a lasting record of really what are the last vestiges of Jewish life in the Arabic-speaking world before they disappear altogether. A country like Morocco, I think and hope, will have its Jewish communities for a good while longer. Those such as Egypt, Iraq, Algeria, with very, very tiny numbers of Jews left. I think it's urgent and important to record what's left there, because very soon there won't be anyone left there. Yes, I do ask this question of everyone that I meet and speak to in the Middle East and North Africa, and I find that the responses are mostly they cover a similar range of topics. People have stayed, they say, because they had elderly parents who didn't want to leave, or were sick, and they felt a duty to stay with them and look after them. Some people had or have good businesses, or properties that they didn't want to leave or didn't feel that they could sell or realize in terms of a reasonable amount of money if they sold them. Some people, a lot of people, feel patriotic about the country that they live in, that they were born in, and say, why should I leave? It's my country. I love Morocco. I love Iraq. I love Egypt. I think another big reason is people not wanting to start all over again, having to learn a new language, live in a new country, work out how that works, adapt to a new culture. They want to stay with what they're familiar with and comfortable with. I think those would be some of the main reasons. Certainly there are additional individual ones in some cases, but they're very much just based on an individual's particular circumstances. The reasons that I mentioned, they really do come up pretty often when I ask that question. So far I have traveled to Egypt, Lebanon. I've been to Lebanon twice. Iraq, Tunisia, I've been to twice. Syria, Algeria, and Morocco. If that's 7, those would be the countries. The other 3 countries that I'm looking at in my book are Yemen, where I don't intend to travel to, it's too dangerous. Libya, where there are literally no Jews, and it's not worth the danger or the risk of traveling there if there are no Jews left there to talk to. The other country is Iran, which is obviously not an Arab country. It's a Muslim country that followed a somewhat similar trajectory, although the main event that led Jews to leave Iran was the revolution, as opposed to the foundation of Israel and Arab nationalism and Zionism and anti-colonialism, which were really the main factors that led Jews to leave all those other countries that I've mentioned. Yes, there are Jews in very, very small numbers, like literally 2 or 3 in Iraq, 4 or 5 in Egypt. Numbers of Jews in Lebanon. I think, there could well be scores or hundreds of Jews in Lebanon. I did meet Jews in all these places. I would like to qualify that by saying that in each country there is what you might call an official tally of remaining Jews, and that tally is really kept by the Jews from that country who live overseas and keep an eye on where they used to live, and also obviously the Jews who still live in those countries and are au fait with who is still there. But I'm a little skeptical of those official figures. I mean, what they reflect or who is counted in those figures are those Jews who choose to identify, not necessarily publicly, but they identify, at least within their community, as Jewish. But that misses out, if you like, a whole lot of people with Jewish roots, including Jewish mothers, which is what identifies a person as Jewish under Jewish law, but who have chosen to marry Christians or Muslims, to live a Christian or Muslim life, depending on where they are. In Lebanon, it would tend to be most often Christian, a Maronite Christian that they would be married to, and then go and live in a Christian area. So not really living to it for any intents or purposes a Jewish life anymore. But it sort of raises the question of how you define Jews and numbers of Jews. But by any kind of definition, really, there are more Jews in these countries than are reflected in those official figures. I would say that, well, each country is different. Tunisia and Morocco are the only countries where there is an open and, if you like, easy Jewish life still being lived. All of those other countries do have synagogues, but they are mostly not used for reasons that there are too few people. It's not possible to make a minyan, the 10 men who are required for Jewish prayer. There just aren't that many people there. In some cases, it's too dangerous to open the synagogue and be seen to be publicly praying or having a service in a synagogue.